Cats, cops, and C4. Well, that sure as hell happened, Cenk states as he checks his gun. Minor damage to the side, likely still usable, but not recommended. From the way Vera is growling, she's clearly fine despite the rough fall, and Linda seems unhurt. Okay, that's the main priorities taken care of. He slips away the gun and considers for a moment. Linda is muttering under her breath and growing louder. Lying, reckless, stupid, selfish, disgusting little shit, Linda screams out in fury. All this time, I gave him the benefit of the doubt and he was just another greedy shit. Just another piece of trash that shatters lives and takes and takes and takes because no one stopped them yet. Dial it back. We need to gather evidence, Cenk says as he draws an undamaged weapon. Vera stalks in first, still in war form and clearly paranoid enough to be sniffing around. She bats at a few things that Linda quickly starts taking pictures of, and as they start scanning through the small and disheveled apartment, Cenk's communicator goes off. Oh boy, what now? It says that they have him and are dealing with him. The sender is undaunted, but otherwise unlisted, meaning intelligence, Cenk says, and Linda stares at him. Which raises the question of how, unless, of course they would. What did they do? Linda asks, and Cenk sighs. He emerges onto the totem panel. It works perfectly. Everything works perfectly. Of course it does. He is no longer Argus, no longer simply drifting from petty bitch to petty bitch for table scraps, no longer allowing the mistakes and weaknesses of others to hold him back. No longer. Something is wrong. The lights in these chambers should be on, and the next room is enormously vast. It's the same room. His safe house is still his, but this isn't safe. He pauses for a moment. Then the axiom cascades in disrupting screaming madness. It breaks his concentration and he falls to a knee before pushing away and deliberately ignoring his own senses. Stop dawdling. Not only is the food getting cold, but you're just being rude, a strange voice says. Moriarty staggers through the room and quickly finds where he stashed a laser pistol. That won't do you any good, but by all means if it helps you stay calm. His back is to the side of the door and he contemplates his next movement. This was supposed to be a totally hidden location. How was this discovered? Who? Sir, should we begin now or? A much deeper, stronger voice asks, and the smaller, higher voice that had been speaking previously answers. By all means. Come on out, Moriarty. For all your bombastic proclamations, I must admit I expected a bit more boldness. The higher voice calls out. It's far from feminine, but it can't possibly be. He moves around the doorframe and sees what appears to be a child in a military uniform sitting at a cloth-covered table across from an empty seat looking right at him. Behind him are two absolutely gigantic Trets with, no, they're human, all of them. Each one a super soldier with an immunity to null, an extreme poison resistance, and the kind of willpower that is generally only seen in the truly dangerous. The two gigantic humans are handling something. There's a movement almost akin to cooking. Well, you've had an interesting day and skipped breakfast, so I feel safe in assuming you have more than enough room for lunch, the child human asks. Who are you? Moriarty asks. Oh, I have many names. I use them a lot too, but you can call me Private Stream. Either word works. Private Stream answers with a wide smile. Please, have a seat. We've got tomato soup with grilled cheese sandwiches and a fruit salad for dessert. All of it Carib safe, I assure you. How did you find this place? He asks. There's no point in asking who he is. There are all sorts of rumors around the humans, and it's clear that this one is a higher-ranking one who either accidentally or deliberately overshot on a healing coma, returning to late childhood. My organization operates under very different assumptions and rules than a police force. The moment you were known to us as having even a scrap of useful information, we thoroughly infiltrated and compromised all your security that we could find. I know everything you've done, Everyone you've spoken to and everywhere you've been for the past few days. Private Stream says, comfortably, gesturing to the seat for Moriarty. He takes it. This isn't a game of shooting fast or sudden spontaneous randomness. He needs to get information before acting. He needs more to work with. He needs to come up with a plan. Seems a little excessive, Moriarty note as he places his laser pistol on the table. To his lack of surprise, Private Stream matches the move, placing a weapon of his own on the table opposite of it. Like all human weapons, it's a small boxy thing made with either metal or dark resins. This one is a resin one. Moriarty leans back in his chair somewhat and regards the strange boy. The situation is intentionally bizarre, which means Private Stream wants him off balance. He wants him intimidated, confused, and uncertain. And so he presses down on those feelings so he can deny any and all of it to this opponent. Yet conversely, Private Stream only smiles as Moriarty gets more visibly comfortable with the situation. Very good. I was worried our little luncheon would push things too far. I didn't know if this was a complete breakaway, a simple midlife crisis, or something else. It's good to see that you're completely done with Argus and the Shroud, as you said. Private Stream says before letting out a chuckle that at his naturally high-pitched voice sounds more like a giggle. Also, as to the excess of bugging you, well, normally it is, but every now and again we get a good catch with it. Nice to know I rate so highly in your esteem. Oh, don't be down on yourself. I've followed your work and there's potential. You've shown a clear line of growth in both capacity and skill that at times almost has an overhang. You're naturally talented to these games, and if not for our, well, rampant paranoia, then you would have easily slipped through the net. But we're the types of men that use barbed hooks braided in. You call it a game as well? Moriarty asks to try and fish out some more information, even as extremely solid but well-crafted chrome-plated plates and bowls are brought to the table by one of the giants. The Canador scaled brute moves with the delicacy of a refined practitioner, and in moments both men have a complete meal setup between them. The second approaches, and a bright red soup is steaming in the bowl in front of Moriarty, and a quartet of triangle-cut sandwiches on a plate to the side. Of course, the greatest game worth playing, the games of the mind and body, where the actions and plans of one planner and schemer can crash up against another's. I have been trained and taught to appreciate the fun, and while I normally find myself on the field, I'm also quite prepared to take more, shall we say, leading roles. I was explicitly ordered to do no field work myself until I was absolutely finished. Otherwise, I would have placed the devices in your apartment myself, and this would have been over with a knife to your throat yesterday. Private Stream explains before pausing with a spoonful of soup halfway to his mouth. Pardon, I should have said in your throat. Were it up to me, you would already be dead. Oh? So you and these Canador fetishists are not here to kill me? Moriarty asks, and Private Stream puts down his spoon before reaching into his jacket. Moriarty relaxes a little as the boy brings out a store-bought bioscanner, still in its packaging no less, and places it on the table in an easy reach of the Carib. He takes the device with a raised eyebrow and scans himself. Trace amounts of some stimulants in his own system, very much within safe levels. The soup and sandwiches are perfectly edible and there's no poison smeared on anything. There is nothing odd about Private Stream's food either, although due to his physiology, Stream himself registers as hazardous but contained. He then quickly checks the device as best he is able for any tampering. Returning an item to its shrink wrapping is a fairly easy feat, but his skills are not sufficient to find any present tampering. It was paranoid to check, yes, but just because someone has many other ways to kill you don't mean they won't use an inefficient one. People rarely do the smart thing. The soup is savory, hot, and deeply satisfying. Moriarty is pleasantly surprised. Furthermore, the sandwiches pair nearly perfectly. Still, he only sips and nibbles. He does not trust these people. Private Stream merely smiles at his outward suspicion. If you're in to get to the point, I would appreciate it, Moriarty states, and Private Stream rolls his eyes. Oh, come now. You take the name of one of our great literary masterminds and you can't figure it out yourself? You've shown a great capacity for detail and planning. Put those skills to use and tell me what I want. Private Stream prompts him. I don't have to. I know what you want. The Undaunted have been recruiting like mad. Your organization is expected to quintuple its original strength by the time you've reached a full year since breaching the edge of cruel space. By some accounts, you already have. You want me. You think I will be some good little soldier and fall in line. It was a single question and you were both correct and incorrect. So I'm afraid you only get half marks, Private Stream says as he dunks part of his grilled cheese in the soup. He quickly eats the bit of food and then wipes off his mouth with a napkin. We have many soldiers and spies coming in, but to be honest, we need more criminals. Excuse me? Back on Earth, it was considered part of the human condition to have people fall through the cracks, for there to be malcontents and maniacs no matter how golden or glowing you could make a civilization. No matter what, there would always be crime and cruelty. Then you left cruel space and found that it wasn't quite so unique to your own race. Universal. No matter how good the social safety net, no matter how kind a society, no matter how beautiful a homeland, and no matter how plentiful the food and shelter and friendships, someone always falls through the cracks. They always do. And they meet others there, other desperate, angry souls who do not care for the ways and whims of society. Those who, with the power to conjure anything they imagine, will conjure a knife to kill their neighbor and steal the bread that their neighbor conjured using the exact same trick. Moriarty's eyes narrow somewhat. There was no implied insult, but he is insulted regardless. So, if they cannot be done away with, if it cannot be avoided, if these people cannot be saved, then they can be used. And here it comes. The offer too good to refuse from the little short-lived, puissant species that's sticking their fingers everywhere, unaware that half the things they're poking are electrical sockets. Moriarty drones and Stream's eyes narrow. The table goes flying and the food crashes to the floor, as well as the weapons. Moriarty crosses his arms in triumph as Private Stream rises from his chair and drags it over. He then sits on it in reverse, and his eyes bore into Moriarty's own. Then, slowly, he smiles. You didn't even flinch. Good. I was hoping it wasn't empty bravado, Private Stream says triumphantly. Replace the table, gentlemen. The good man and I need to have a talk. The boy rises from his chair and starts to walk away from his massive protectors. He grabs Moriarty's chair and begins to drag it along, not wanting to let the bizarre man have such control over him. Moriarty, Private Stream says, turning around and walking towards the other soldiers. Moriarty raises an eyebrow as he sees that the table and chairs are back in their positions. The spilled food is cleaned up and replaced, and both weapons return to their places. Soldiers that big should not be able to move in near-perfect silence. Don't push your luck. Don't underestimate us. You'd be shocked what purpose and camaraderie can do, Private Stream says before he holds out something to Moriarty. It's a scarlet necktie, the fourth option. Did the man know he would take that option, or was he simply prepared for all of them? So if you're going to be my superior officer, what's my first order? Moriarty asks in a mocking tone. Get to ground properly and start rebuilding criminal contacts as Moriarty. You want more control of the underworld. More that we want someone less inclined to torture and murder sprees in control. We've been prying numerous lunatics and monsters out of their holes and taking their wealth. It's been profitable, but it's left behind a power vacuum that will see people killed at this rate. There are many parts of Centris primed for someone with brains and ambitions to come in and start taking over. Someone detail-oriented and with a knowledge of gang culture. And the reason why you or one of your own haven't done so. Most of our agents are human. We stand out. Oh, sure, we look like threats at first, but we quickly are exposed as the newest and strangest race on the galactic scene, which brings in too much attention. We're a Carib man. Some attention, but not so much by comparison. I'm not going to have to marry, am I? Do you want to? No, but I've heard rumors that you humans have been using sex to get what we want. In some cases. But the important part of things is that the men can always escape if they need to. Including you, Herbert Jameson. Oh, good job sussing out the incredibly obvious. Yes, I had the way out, but chose to go with it. Sure, there was some spying at first, but things settled. Really? Do you have any idea how easy it is to fake a mission going completely wrong and instant death? Furthermore, there were a lot of legal loopholes all over. Weren't you raped and then roped into marriage? Technically. But technically you're dying as we speak and we're all falling well beyond terminal velocity while spinning. Just because you can describe something as happening one way or another doesn't mean it has. Herbert replies as he takes off his hat and returns to the chair he was on earlier. So, you're in? With trepidation, but yes, I'm in. Excellent. We just need to get you a mathematics degree and you can be the Napoleon of crime. Right. Yes, Professor Moriarty. This should be easy enough. Moriarty notes and Herbert just gives him a grin. He thinks it will be easy? How interesting.